Hey team, we are starting our team teaching, but now we're switching them to Thursdays. And as you know, we finished up our last book, 17 Essential Qualities of a Team Player. And now we're going to start a book by Michael Hyatts. And simply is Your Best Year Ever. And there's 4 different sections to the book. And I want to give you an idea of what the book is about. And it's about having not only your best year ever, but how to have your best year ever. And so it's going to take us a few weeks to go through each section. And then, man, we're going to pass out and send out some homework on, hey, this is how you can take some steps in these areas. So if something hits home, know that we're going to have some action plans for you to walk through and to give you an understanding. One intentional choice at a time, you make the world around you better. And so that's the whole premise of the book, and it is to give you better choices and better decision making, better habits, better planning, better goals, all those things to have the best year ever. And the first step, the day one, is believe the possibility. And I'm going to read just a little clip from the book, and it says, there's an old saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. That's especially true when we're thinking of our personal histories. It talks about, if you look at your life and you look at different parts of your life, week by week, year by year, you're still oftentimes the same person year to year. And our habits, thinkings, tend to produce the same outcomes year after year. Think about it. If you're broke right now, the chances are you were broke here a while back, and then you were broke again even further back. Think about this. If you find yourself really good in the middle of the year with money and then really bad at the beginning of the year with money, you may need to change where you're spending money. Hey, listen, I'm preaching to the choir, right? If I find out that I am have a really good habit in this area, and this area is really good in my life, and then if I look over here and I have a bad area, I'm probably repeating and rhyming the same thing over and over again, maybe just in a different way. He says in our habits of thinking, most time are counterproductive. However, we often experience the opposite, unhappy dissatisfaction and the nagging feeling that the deck is somehow stacked against us. Like we think, hey, it's somebody else's fault. It's some other reason. But the reality of our situation is most of the time it's tied to our thinking and how we think. The good news is that you can change the rhyme even if your habits or thinking are already really ingrained in you. You can experience the transformation and personal improvements in all these areas by upgrading your beliefs. So let's jump into step 1 to upgrading your beliefs. Your beliefs, we need to understand first, shape our reality. It says here, what happens, this is a quote in the book, what happens is of little significance compared with the stories we tell ourselves about what happened. I want you to think about that. What actually happened and what the story we tell. You think about this. If you're trying to tell the story of, man, your fishing excursion, you may say the fish was this big, and in reality, the fish was this big, right? And so we have to think. Now, one thing that happens, and maybe you know about these, and he gives this example, Michael Hyatts does in the book, and he says they had a dog, and the dog kept running out in front of vehicles, and so they got in connection with this thing called invisible fence. They put up an invisible fence, gave the dog a collar, and it would buzz the dog every time they would go and run into the fence, right? And so what would happen then is the dog had to relearn some habits and had to relearn some boundaries and had to replan and rethink how he was going to run around. Think about your life. And with the dog and the invisible fence, eventually, even when the collar wasn't on, he would not even run past that line. And maybe there's something in your life where something happened and it has shocked you, and you think, man, I can never cross that line again. I can never go there. I can never get that promotion. I can never get that job. I can never reach that point in ministry. And I'm telling you, it is still possible. It's possible. The problem with our doubts is polls often show this, okay? And we think about this, we talk about this, we just celebrated the new year. And polls show a percentage of people in their 20s who achieved their New Year's resolution is far greater than those in their 50s and up. In fact, it says that 8 out of 10 millennials set New Year's resolutions. Almost 7 in 10 adults over 65 say that New Year's resolutions are a farce or a joke or they're not obtainable. That's according to a Harris poll. Why is it sad? Why is it that? Why is it sad? But the greater number of setbacks we experience. Now, I want you to hear this. The greater number of setbacks you experience in life, the less likely you are to believe that we can prevail. Doubt is a goal toxin. When you deal with doubts, it is a goal toxin. To shield ourselves from future disappointment, we develop a cynical mindset, a cynical way of thinking, a cynical thought plan, and we're self-protective towards life. Okay, catch this. It's hard to get your hopes dashed if you never get your hopes up. But the kind of cynicism that this possesses, and it poisons our soul and actually sabotages our results. It kills us. It literally destroys us. It is the idea. And if you think about the way that we think and how it matters, you have to change what you think is possible if you're going to reach new goals. If we're going to reach a new level as a church, you have to think, man, this is possible. It says in here that there's differences in approach and differences in mindsets. And he uses this example from a science fiction author and inventor, Arthur C. Clarke said, when a distinguished but elderly scientist states that something is possible, he is almost certainly right. When he states that something is impossible, he is very probably wrong. As Clarke said, it's a failure of imagination. That imagination is not just in scientists, though. It affects you as a leader. It affects you as a dad, you as a mom, you as a person. It has a major, major, major effect on you. It is part of the process of why we deal with things over and over and over again, because we believe and we get in this mindset that that's just who we are and that's what we're going to deal with. And I just want to tell you, it's not true. What if you could change your sense of what's possible? We tend to experience what we expect. We know this, and we've kind of known this idea for a long time in history. If men define situations as real, they are real in their consequences, said psychologist William I. Thomas in 1928. Reflecting on that very idea, 20 years later, psychologist Robert K. Merton coined the phrase that you've heard before, self-fulfilling prophecy. And in 1957, another one dealt with the idea of having tragic prophecy over your life. So let me ask you this as we get ready to close this first session of the book by Michael Hyatts, Your Best Year Yet. What have you closed off in your mind is not possible? What have you begun to think is not capable of happening? Could it be that the very thing that you have thought is not possible is a cynicism because of things that you've dealt with? And today is the day. Today is the moment that you change your way of thinking. I know when we moved to New Brockton, our church to New Brockton in 2020, people said, it can't happen in New Brockton. Yet it's happening in New Brockton. And now people are like, a church can't grow but so much in New Brockton. And I am here to tell you there is no limit to the growth that can happen in this city and in this town and in this part of our county. It is not, it'll never happen. The question should be, why can it not? Let's change the way we believe. Let's change the way we think. Let's change the way we imagine what is possible.